They say attention is the currency of power, but Machiavelli would have told you it's far more dangerous than gold. Because while most people spend their lives begging for attention, the truly powerful do something far more unnerving. They withhold it. And that simple act turns the tables on everyone around them. The moment you stop feeding people your attention, they start starving for your presence. It's not magic, it's manipulation. A psychological vacuum that makes others chase what you've quietly taken away. Machiavelli understood that attention is not something you give freely, it's something you trade strategically. Because every time you offer someone your focus, you're signaling that they have influence over your emotional world. And the second they know that, they own you. Think about it. Most people believe attention equals connection. They chase it, crave it, die for it. They post, argue, flirt, perform, all to be seen. But when someone refuses to play that game, something strange happens. They become the center of gravity in every room they walk into. People can't stop wondering what they're thinking, what they're feeling, why they're so unmoved by what everyone else is desperate for. The paradox is this: those who need attention get ignored, and those who deny it become irresistible. Machiavelli would tell you that giving attention is the purest form of surrender, because attention is energy, and energy creates hierarchy. The one who pays attention kneels, and the one who receives it stands taller. When you compliment someone excessively, argue to prove yourself right, or defend your reputation too often, you're showing the world where your emotional leash is tied. You're saying, "You have power over my peace." Machiavelli's advice would be brutal but liberating. Cut that leash. He believed that a ruler or anyone seeking influence must cultivate presence that commands attention, not demands it. And that starts with restraint. If someone tries to provoke you, stay silent. If they expect your reaction, delay it. If they want your validation, withhold it. Because people remember absence more sharply than presence. When you speak less, every word weighs more. When you appear less, every sighting becomes an event. You become a mystery in a world addicted to noise. There's a reason silence feels like punishment. Humans can handle hatred, rejection, even humiliation, but indifference drives them mad. It activates a primal need for acknowledgement. It whispers, "Why am I not enough for you to notice?" Machiavelli exploited this weakness. He knew that when people crave your attention, they'll start competing for it. They'll try to please you, agree with you, serve your interests, all to earn back what you quietly stopped giving. He once observed that it's not cruelty that builds loyalty, it's uncertainty. When you're unpredictable with your attention, people become addicted to earning it. One moment of recognition from you feels like sunlight after days of storm. It creates emotional dependency without them realizing it. The same principle works in relationships, friendships, and even at work. The colleague who never seeks approval but performs flawlessly becomes magnetic. The person who doesn't text first becomes the one everyone waits for. The leader who speaks rarely but decisively becomes unforgettable. Machiavelli understood that power doesn't always require dominance. Sometimes it's about emotional scarcity. Attention is like fire. It burns brightly when contained, but turns into chaos when spread everywhere. Most people leak their focus constantly. They comment on every argument online, respond instantly to every message, react to every insult. They think this makes them engaged. But in truth, it makes them predictable, and predictability kills mystique. You can't control how people see you, but you can control what they get to see. That's where the art lies. Be selective with your reactions. Make your silence a weapon, not a weakness. When someone disrespects you publicly, don't fight for validation. Watch how their energy collapses when you don't feed it. When someone flirts for your attention, delay your response until their curiosity turns into obsession. When everyone's rushing to speak, pause long enough that your words become an event in themselves. Machiavelli would say, Presence is a performance, but attention is the script. And the one who writes the script owns the scene. The crowd doesn't respect the actor who begs for applause. They respect the one who stands still and makes silence louder than any speech. That's the essence of presence, to make others feel your weight, even in your absence. So when you feel tempted to prove yourself, to explain your worth, to chase acknowledgement, pause. Remember that the desire to be understood is a trap. The world isn't built to understand you. It's built to consume your energy. When you stop feeding it, you start starving the system that kept you small. People will call you cold, distant, arrogant. Let them. Those words are proof that they can feel your withdrawal, and they hate it, because they can't control what they can't predict. It's ironic when you stop giving attention, people accuse you of being self-centered. But the truth is, most of them only cared about your attention because it validated their existence. They don't miss you. They miss the reflection of themselves they saw through your focus. That's why Machiavelli believed attention must always serve strategy, not emotion. Every time you look at someone, speak to someone, or even acknowledge their presence, you're making an investment. Ask yourself, will this investment grow your influence or drain it? In the world of power, the greatest advantage you can have is selective blindness. Pretend not to see what doesn't serve your goals. Not every insult deserves a counterattack. Not every opportunity deserves your participation. Not every person deserves your emotional bandwidth. When you withhold your attention, you conserve your strength. And that strength, over time, turns into aura. People begin to sense that you're not accessible like everyone else, that your attention must be earned. Think about the people you admire. They rarely seem desperate for recognition. Their calm detachment makes others reach for them. That's the essence of control. Machiavelli would say that true influence isn't about commanding crowds. It's about creating gravity, the kind that makes people orbit around you without you having to move. And gravity comes from stillness. When you refuse to react, people react to you. Attention is not affection, it's leverage. The one who controls where attention flows controls the world. Politicians, influencers, lovers, manipulators, they all use the same principle. But the difference between them and you is awareness. They know that people will do anything to be seen. You, on the other hand, must learn to do the opposite, to become so self-contained that being unseen becomes your source of power. Because the less people know about what moves you, the more they'll wonder what you're capable of. And here's the paradox that few understand. When you no longer crave attention, you begin to attract it naturally. Not because you're trying, but because indifference is the rarest form of confidence. In a noisy world, detachment is hypnotic. People are drawn to what they can't define. They'll project, speculate, fantasize about your motives. And while they're busy doing that, you remain in control. Your power lies not in how loudly you exist, but in how silently you make your presence felt. Machiavelli would call it the art of invisibility, the ability to disappear from the emotional battlefield while still controlling its outcome, to make others chase shadows while you sit still in complete awareness of their chaos. The moment you master that, you stop being reactive and start being revered, because those who need nothing from anyone end up being desired by everyone. Most people misunderstand what it truly means to give attention. They think it's harmless, just listening, replying, showing care. But Machiavelli would have smiled at that illusion. He knew that attention is not a neutral act, it's a transaction. Every glance, every word, every ounce of curiosity you give away is a transfer of energy. And when you give too much of it, you don't just lose focus, you lose power, because people interpret your attention as emotional approval, and approval always lowers your value in their eyes. This is why the people you treat the best often take you for granted, not because they're bad, but because human nature adjusts to abundance. When something is always available, its value disappears. The same applies to you. When you're constantly accessible, replying instantly, explaining yourself, reacting to everything, you become background noise. But when you disappear, when your attention becomes scarce, the silence begins to scream. People start replaying every moment you ever gave them, wondering what changed. They start craving the smallest signal from you, like an addict waiting for their next fix. Machiavelli would call this the psychology of deprivation. Humans don't desire what they have, they desire what's withheld. The less you reveal, the more they imagine, and imagination is stronger than reality, because what they imagine you to be will always be larger, deeper, and more magnetic than who you actually are. The world falls in love with mystery, not honesty. So when you stop giving attention, you give people space to project their own fantasies onto you. You become a mirror that reflects what they secretly long for. You can see this dynamic everywhere. The quiet colleague who never engages in gossip is suddenly respected more than the one who always talks. The ex who stopped responding becomes far more desirable than the one still trying to explain. The celebrity who vanishes from the spotlight becomes a legend, while the one who overshares becomes disposable. Power is not about more, it's about less. Machiavelli's brilliance was understanding that restraint can be louder than dominance. But withholding attention isn't about arrogance, it's about self-control. It's about refusing to let your focus be hijacked by people who haven't earned it. Machiavelli warned that rulers who tried to please everyone lost both their throne and their respect. The same happens in ordinary life. The moment you start trying to be liked by all, you become owned by all. Your energy gets scattered, your purpose diluted. But when you redirect your attention inward, toward your goals, your discipline, your peace, you start radiating something the world can feel. Detachment that commands interest. Detachment doesn't mean coldness, it means mastery. It's the ability to feel deeply but show selectively. It's when your emotions serve your vision, not the other way around. People sense this control and it draws them in, because everyone's looking for someone who isn't swayed by chaos. Someone grounded, composed, unbothered. Machiavelli knew that composure is a form of intimidation. When everyone else is frantic for acknowledgement, the one who doesn't need it becomes godlike in their calm. But the challenge is this: you can't fake indifference. Pretending not to care while secretly obsessing over being noticed exposes you faster than words. Real power is when you could give attention but choose not to. It's when silence isn't forced, it's strategic. When absence isn't avoidance, it's direction. You must train yourself to find comfort in being misunderstood, in being unseen, even disliked. Because once you stop needing to be understood, you become unstoppable. Machiavelli would have advised you to observe people the way a hunter observes prey, not with malice, but with patience. Watch how quickly they reveal their insecurities once your attention fades. The loudest one in the room is often the weakest. Their noise is a disguise for dependence. When you stop feeding that need, their behavior unravels. They try harder, talk louder, over-explain, and every attempt to win your focus only exposes how much they've lost their own. In private relationships, this principle becomes even more dangerous and more effective. The person who knows how to withdraw attention at the right moment can control the emotional rhythm of any connection. You don't argue when they try to provoke you. You don't chase when they pull away. You simply let silence do what words never can. Soon they start second-guessing themselves. Did I say something wrong? Did I push too hard? They start chasing clarity while you remain composed. That imbalance of emotional energy is the seed of influence. Machiavelli understood that people are predictable in their need for attention. They will betray logic, dignity, even love just to feel seen. You don't have to manipulate them with cruelty. All you need is to understand their hunger better than they do. When you know that every reaction you give feeds their sense of importance, you start using your responses like currency. Some people get a glance, a few get a conversation, only the worthy get your full attention. That hierarchy creates value, and value creates reverence. The same applies to your digital life. In the modern world, attention has become a form of slavery. People scroll endlessly, react to everything, give their mental space away for free. Machiavelli's wisdom would slice through that illusion like a blade. He'd tell you to stop giving the world your focus without intention, because every time you do, you weaken the fortress of your mind. To truly stand out, you must become scarce not only in presence, but in perception. Let people guess your opinions. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Every unanswered question about you adds another layer of intrigue. The goal is not to become invisible, it's to become unpredictable. Predictability is the death of influence. When people can't predict your reactions, they can't manipulate your emotions. And when they can't manipulate your emotions, they start respecting your boundaries. That's when power silently transfers from them to you. Machiavelli would tell you that unpredictability is the shield of the strong. You never show the full hand, never reveal what truly matters to you. You let others expose their motives first, while you stay composed, watching quietly as they reveal everything trying to earn your response. This doesn't mean you detach from life. It means you participate with precision. You choose what deserves your attention, what doesn't. You decide who gets to affect your emotions. You stop being reactive and start being deliberate. Because in the end, your attention is your vote. It's how you decide who wins your time, your thoughts, your peace. When you stop giving it away carelessly, the world starts realizing your worth. People who once dismissed you will notice your distance. They'll sense your energy shifting, and it will haunt them. That's the quiet transformation Machiavelli wanted rulers and thinkers to master. The art of making others crave your presence while you give them none. It's the kind of control that doesn't shout, it whispers. The kind that doesn't beg for followers, but creates them naturally. Because power, at its highest level, doesn't announce itself, it simply exists, and everyone else adjusts around it. Once you internalize this, every conversation changes. You stop trying to fill silence with words. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. You stop rushing to prove your worth. Instead, you let your restraint do the talking. You let your calmness draw curiosity. And suddenly, the world around you starts to slow down, orbiting around your energy. That's what happens when you understand the true weight of your attention. It's not just something you give, it's something that defines you. The moment you protect it, you stop being ordinary. You become someone people remember without knowing why. Someone whose absence feels louder than most people's presence. And that, Machiavelli would say, is the ultimate trick, to make others crave what you no longer need to give. There's a certain silence that makes people uneasy, the kind that isn't empty, but charged. When you stop giving attention, that silence surrounds you like armor. It's not that you're ignoring the world. It's that you're observing it without obligation. Machiavelli would say that this form of detachment is how power hides in plain sight. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability forces people to respect you even when they don't understand you. Because in a world where everyone's screaming to be noticed, the one who doesn't need to be heard becomes the loudest of all. When you stop reacting, you force others to confront themselves. Most people aren't actually seeking your attention. They're trying to escape their own insecurity through your validation. When you remove that escape, they're left alone with the discomfort they were running from. They start wondering what's wrong with them, what changed, why you're no longer giving what they took for granted. And that mental tension makes them attach themselves to your image even more. You occupy their thoughts not by presence, but by absence. Machiavelli would call this the architecture of desire, understanding that what people want most is not pleasure, but relief from uncertainty. The person who withholds attention becomes the source of that uncertainty. They hold emotional power not because they do something, but because they could and choose not to. It's that possibility, the maybe, that keeps others trapped in your gravity. They crave your reaction, your approval, your acknowledgement. And when they don't get it, their imagination takes over. That imagination is your greatest ally because it allows you to influence them without lifting a finger. But let's be clear. This isn't about being manipulative for the sake of cruelty. It's about balance. The world is full of people who mistake kindness for weakness, who believe that if you care, you must be available. Machiavelli's lesson cuts through this illusion with precision. Kindness without boundaries is self-sabotage. To truly be respected, your attention must be a privilege, not a default setting. It should carry weight, meaning consequence. Otherwise, you'll drown in the noise of those who don't value it. Think about it. Every time you chase someone's acknowledgement, you shrink in their mind. They might respond politely, they might even engage, but deep down they know they've gained something you've lost. The moment you need them to see you, they no longer have to. But when you don't seek it, when you move as though your focus is already complete without them, something shifts. You start radiating a quiet self-sufficiency that people can feel even before they understand it. It's confidence, but colder, calmer, an energy that doesn't chase, doesn't plead, doesn't explain. It simply exists. Machiavelli would say, that's the point where attention turns from something you give to something you generate. Your aura begins to speak before you do. And when that happens, you become a magnet, not because you pull, but because you stand still. Your stillness disturbs people's restlessness. They wonder what you're thinking, what you're hiding, what you see that they don't. It makes them self-conscious in your presence. And that discomfort is power. It means they've already placed you above them in the emotional hierarchy. But here's where most people fail. They start enjoying the control, and they turn it into arrogance. They think withholding attention means acting superior. Machiavelli would have warned against that, because arrogance breaks the illusion. When you look down on people, they see your insecurity trying to disguise itself as strength. True mastery is quieter. It doesn't announce detachment. It embodies it. It's not about withholding attention to prove worth. It's about doing it to preserve energy. You don't play the game to win, you simply refuse to play. And that refusal rewrites the rules. You'll notice that when you practice this long enough, certain people start disappearing. Those who only valued you for your attention will fade away. Let them. Their departure is proof that they never saw your value. They only saw their reflection in your focus. But the ones who remain, those are the ones who see your presence as a gift, not a right. Those are the people who can exist beside your silence without panicking. Keep those few, and your life becomes quieter, sharper, and infinitely more powerful. Attention is a paradox. Give too little, and you seem distant. Give too much, and you lose your edge. The balance lies in intentionality. Machiavelli's philosophy teaches that every gesture, every pause, every acknowledgement must serve a purpose. Even your kindness must be strategic. Smile when it strengthens your influence, not when it appeases others. Speak when it clarifies your position, not when it just fills silence. The goal is not to appear cold, but to appear measured. People respect precision because it's rare. You see, the modern world glorifies overexposure. Everyone's showing everything, opinions, emotions, lives. But the more people reveal, the less they're respected. Familiarity erodes fascination. Machiavelli understood that power needs mystery the way fire needs oxygen. It dies without it. So when you stop giving attention, you're not being antisocial. You're protecting the very quality that makes you magnetic, your depth. The less people know about what you think, the more they wonder what you're capable of. And that curiosity is a form of quiet submission. When people talk about you, let them speculate. When they test you, let them fail to provoke a response. When they try to measure you, make sure the scale breaks. Because every time they fail to decode you, their respect grows. People don't admire what they fully understand. They admire what remains just out of reach. Machiavelli's trick wasn't about dominance through fear. It was about fascination through restraint. He knew that when you control your attention, you control the narrative. You might not notice it at first, but the shift will happen subtly. Fewer arguments, fewer explanations, fewer emotional drains. People will start approaching you differently, more carefully, more intentionally. Your silence will start doing the work your words once struggled to. You'll stop being invited into drama because drama needs reaction, and you've become reactionless. That's when you realize what Machiavelli truly meant by presence. It's not about being seen, it's about being felt. And soon something else happens. The people who once ignored you start trying to re-enter your world. They sense that your absence left a space they can't fill. They start testing your boundaries again, trying to provoke a spark. Don't give it to them. The moment you do, the illusion collapses. Maintain the discipline to keep your attention sacred. Let them crave what they once wasted. That's not revenge, it's balance restored. At the heart of it all, Machiavelli's lesson is simple but ruthless. Stop being generous with what's valuable. Your attention, your time, your emotions, they are currencies that must circulate with purpose. When you stop handing them out like gifts, the world recalibrates. You'll notice fewer people demanding your energy and more people offering theirs. The balance of power flips quietly, invisibly, until one day you look around and realize you're no longer chasing anything. They're chasing you, and that's when you finally understand the essence of his trick. You make people crave your presence by showing them that you no longer need theirs. Because the most irresistible person in any room isn't the one who's adored, it's the one who doesn't need to be.